Just to go after it. I mean, the thing about being an entrepreneur is it's just all to you. You know, a lot of people like to make excuses. I don't have connections, I don't have money, I don't have this, but you know, if you find something that you like to do or love to do, be great at it and see if you can turn it into a business. In worst case, you're going to have fun doing what it is you love to do. In best case, you can turn it into a business. I'm just not big on excuses. I just think if you really, everybody has that opportunity to go for it. They just got to do it.
Whatever it is that you want to do, there's going to be risk in your life, and risk is a necessary component of progress. You can make any pioneering movements in the world of any kind, whether they be the geographical, physical exploration that I've just been talking about, or whether it be a more cerebral exploration of a scientific field. Or I bet you could ask that question of every speaker here, and I bet that every speaker here has taken substantial risks, whether it be intellectual or otherwise, to achieve what they've done.
What happens with people is we tend to go out into the world and we look for those sort of excuses about why things aren't the way we want them. And when you do that, you lose all your power in life. When you start focusing on the external, on the excuses, you lose your power. Here's the way people really think. I will tell you, I can go out onto stage and bomb. You go out there and you just bomb, right? And people will respect you for going out there and trying your hardest. It's not how you actually perform that earns you the respect of your peers. It's the fact that you went out and actually did it. That's the difference. So if you're out there right now and you're a new salesperson or you're struggling as a salesperson, there's no embarrassment in the struggle. There's just not. The embarrassment is in quitting. The embarrassment is in not trying your hardest.
If you treat people well, people will come back and come back for more. And it's a very small world. I actually think that the best way of becoming a successful business leader is dealing with people, fairly and well, and like to think that's how we run Virgin.
I've always just really enjoyed just the competition of business. I think, in the sports business, I'll talk to our players and it'll be like, well, you guys compete for 48 minutes and you practice a couple hours and you work on your game independently a couple hours. But the ultimate sport is business, because you have to compete with everybody. And you have to do it 24/7 by 365 days a year forever. And there's always somebody out there trying to kick your butt. There's always somebody who looks at your business and says, I can do that better, I have a better idea. And you have to compete with that person. And all the while you have to make your customers happy, your employees happy. It's the competitive side of me that, in any entrepreneur, that I think that has to drive you. And I think that carries over into the Mavericks. I want to win and I want to compete.
When you're starting something, it's just kind of hard. You need to be pretty headstrong about it, right? And there are going to be all these challenges that come up, and I think the main thing that you need to do is just not give up, right? And kind of know what you want to do. And the best entrepreneurs who I've met don't really start companies because their goal is to build a company. They do it because they want to make a change in the world and help people. And I think if you kind of stay true to that, and if you just focus on kind of powering through no matter what the challenges are that will inevitably come up in your path, then you'll find that there are lots of tools that are available and a lot of people who will help you build what you're building.
Poor people believe they are creatures of circumstance. That means that the life happens to them. You get that? while rich people are creators of circumstance. I will tell you this, there is no more destructive belief in the world than to think that life happens to you. Because there's three things that you do when you don't think that you can create your own destiny. I'll tell you exactly what they are. Ready? Number one, the first thing you do is you play what I call the blame game. You start blaming everybody for why you don't have what you want. You'll blame the government, you'll blame your family, you'll blame your spouse, you'll blame your boss, you'll blame the economy, you'll blame the people on Wall Street, which probably deserve some blame, but you'll blame anybody and everybody when you think the world happens to you. You're powerless. The second thing you do is you justify. It is because the economy stinks. It's because people are unfair to me. It's because money doesn't really matter anyway. Third, and this is the worst one of all, so write it down in big letters, they complain. I hate these people. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I do believe in some laws of the universe. I do. And one of them is that what you focus on expands, gets bigger, and what you focus on, you attract. Because you move towards it. You're focusing on something you attract. So here's what happens. When you're complaining, what are you focusing on?
One of the things that companies do or startups do, they come up with an idea, they'll Google it, and if they don't see it in the first 2 pages, they think it's original. You've got to go back, right? Because over the past 15 years, there's so many different businesses that have tried and failed. You have to go back and find those and learn from those. So you've got to understand all the implications, and you have to learn from history. And so the best advice I can give you on a video before talking to you or emailing with you is that you've got to find out the history of people who have tried your idea, because there's a 99.99999% chance that your idea has been tried before. That's not a good reason not to start it, because you might be able to outperform them, but you better learn from the history of your idea, because you know what they say about people who don't learn from history.
What kills great businesses, if you look at, I do believe in looking at history, and I like to study failure, actually. And my partner says all I want to know is where I'll die, so I'll never go there. And we want to see what has caused businesses to go bad. And the biggest thing that kills them is complacency. I mean, you want a restlessness, a feeling that, you know, that somebody's always after you, but you're going to stay ahead of them. You always want to be on the move. And when you've got a great business, you know, like Coca-Cola, which is, there aren't any like Coca-Cola, but you really, the danger would always be that you rest on your laurels. But I see none of that, obviously, at Coca-Cola. But that is the key, to compete the same way when you've got 1.8 billion servings being sold daily as when you were selling, you know, 10 a day. And that restlessness, that belief that tomorrow is more exciting than today, you know, you just have to have it permeate the organization.
He says you can hold a ballet and that can be successful. And you can hold a rock concert and that can be successful. Just don't hold a ballet and advertise it as a rock concert. And so you need to be clear with all of your stakeholders with, you know, are you holding a ballet or are you holding a rock concert? And then people get to self-select in. You know, we hire people who are really motivated by building new customer experiences. They like to pioneer, they like the rate of change. They wake up in the shower motivated by thinking about customers. And occasionally somebody joins Amazon who their primary motivation comes from being thinking about competition or competitors. Those people can find Amazon a little dull. You know, so, and again, it's not about right or wrong. It's just that different people are motivated by different things. And what happens with corporate cultures is that over time, people collect themselves in a way where they like that culture, and then it becomes self-sustaining.
One of the big things that all startups do is they lie to themselves over and over and over. Mine's faster, mine's cheaper, mine's better, mine's this, mine's that. No, it's not. And the reason it's not is because whoever it is you're competing with, it's not like they're ignoring you. It's not like, oh my goodness, this guy just started on Shopify in the startup competition. He's doing $1 million this year. Woe is me, I might as well close up the doors. What are they doing? I'm going to copy what they're doing. And now you've got to stay ahead. And so, you've got to be very careful as an entrepreneur to be brutally honest with yourself. And those are some of the things that you'll hear from me as a mentor, that, know what you know what you don't know, but you've got to know your business better than anybody.
My advice would be the same for any kind of entrepreneur, and that is make sure that you are focused on something you're passionate about. So if you look at the early internet companies, they were started and focused on doing something that they thought was very interesting long before the internet was fashionable in any way. We are currently an underdog once again. We've been in business for 6 years, and there was exactly 1 year where we were not the underdog, and that was 1999. I like the underdog years because it makes, I liked it when all the people we hired, their parents told them they were crazy. Like that was kind of the good era. Fortunately, it's back. In 1999, all the parents were like, giving their brothers and sisters high fives. My son is working at Amazon.com. So that's a very, you can't follow the fashion when you're trying to do a startup company, or I think really anything in life. But you have to, as an entrepreneur, if you're gonna build a company, pick something you think is interesting that has the intersection of genuinely creating real customer value, and then just stay right there and let the wave catch you.
I spent a bunch of time analyzing and reflecting on why it was that we were even able to do it, because all reasons suggest that we shouldn't have been able to do it, right? Because all these other companies had way more engineering power and servers and time and money and all this stuff. And I actually think that this is a pretty instructive thing for anything that you want to go do, because this is the same property is going to be true for anything that you guys start, is that someone else is going to have more resources and be able to do it. The reason why I think we actually ended up being the ones doing it is because we just cared way more about it than everyone else, right? So there were always projects at some of these other companies that were these hobbies, but we always thought that it was this really important thing and really just felt in our gut and our heart that we wanted to do it. And early on, there were always these skeptics saying that, oh, this can't be a business. We didn't actually care that much about it being a business early on. But a lot of the reason why bigger companies didn't invest in it was because it wasn't clear that there was a model that would work for it.
It seemed like a bad idea.
Yeah, and I actually think that that's true for a lot of the best ideas, where it is that it's not that someone else can't do it, they actually can, and the odds are stacked against you, but I think often that belief in the fact that you just care so much about what you're doing is the only thing that kind of drives you to do it. And, to be honest, that kind of drives me to this day. I mean, one of the big emphasis points for the company right now is internet.org. And, for a while we had this rallying cry of, can we connect 1 billion people? And when we started talking about that, we thought that was crazy, right? It was way bigger than any service in the world that had been built, and it was 10 digits long, right? It's like it felt crazy. We'd never get to that. But then the thing is, as we started to actually get closer to that, we took a step back and we're like, all right, well, our mission isn't actually to get 1 in 7 people in the world to be connected. It's we want to connect everyone. So it's a big issue that only around 1/3 of the people in the world have access to the internet. And that's something that we think that we can do something about. And similar to early Facebook, there's no business model around this. I mean, all the people who have all the money in the world, I mean, it's not necessarily a fair thing, are already the people who are on Facebook, right? It's in the first, seventh of the world. But we just believe really strongly. It's like, this is what we are here to do. This is what our company cares about. I care about it. The team cares about it. Our culture cares about it. So we're just going to keep pushing on it. And I actually think a lot of the reason why great stuff gets built is because it's kind of irrational at the time. But so it kind of selects for the people who care the most about it doing it.
Knowing your strengths and weaknesses and knowing what you enjoy doing. If you look at it as a job, you've already lost. It's not going to be your passion, and you're going to count the hours. If you look at it as something you love to do, and then you know what your strengths are, then you can leverage those strengths in your business and in helping others. And once you recognize your weaknesses, then you can work with people that complement you. I mean, every one of my businesses, I've had a partner who's very anal. Martin Woodall, Todd Wagner, I mean, incredibly anal people, perfectionists, because I'm a slob. I'm a big picture, think about what's around the corner, how's technology going to change things, how can I change, this industry, and, making sure that there's somebody there to dot the I's, cross the T's, and keep me in the baselines. And recognizing my weaknesses is just as important as recognizing my strengths and my core competencies, and having a passion to do them.
Right framework I found is a regret minimization framework. And so that's just a nerdy way of saying that you want to project yourself to age 80 and then think back over your life. And if you're 80, you want to minimize the number of regrets you have throughout that period of time. I think this is something a lot of people do, maybe subconsciously. Very few people probably name it regret minimization framework because most people are healthier than that. But it was a very clear way for me to think about making that kind of life decision. And the way it helped was I thought, okay, if I go do this thing and participate in this thing called the internet that I genuinely believe is going to be a big deal, and if I fail, am I going to regret having tried and failed? And I knew the answer to that was no. But I also knew that if I didn't try, that I would always regret that. I would always wonder, and it would haunt me.
It never bothered me if people disagreed with what I thought, as long as I felt I knew the facts. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things I don't know a thing about. I just stay away from those. So I stay within what I call my circle of competence. Tom Watson said it best. He said, I'm no genius, but I'm smart in spots, and I stay around those spots. Well, I try and stay around those spots, and I just don't have a problem if somebody says, you're wrong on something. I go back and look at the facts, and I think that really is much more important, frankly, than having a few points of IQ or having an extra course or two in school or anything of the sort. You need emotional stability.
My best business decisions really have to do with picking people. Deciding to go into partnership with Paul Allen is probably at the top of the list. And then subsequently hiring a friend, Steve Ballmer. And having somebody who you totally trust, who's totally committed, who shares your vision and yet has a little bit different set of skills. And also acts as a check on you. Some of the ideas you come up with, you run by them because they're going to say, hey, wait a minute. Have you thought about this and that? And just, the benefit of sparking off of somebody who's got that kind of brilliance, it's not only made it fun, but it's really led to a lot of success. So picking a partner is crucial.
You've got to be differentiated and unique. You've got to know what your core competency is and be great at it. I think what people fail to realize is that there's got to be a defining feature of your company, and you've got to be the best in the world at that. Whatever industry you're in, if you don't know more about it than anybody else in the world, whoever those other people are that know more are going to kick your ass.